Hey, what is up, you guys, and welcome back to my channel here, Just Simply Sports with me. I am Kaja. If you're new to my channel, I welcome you. Please hit the like and subscribe button. You guys, we're just going to get right into it today. Skip the pleasantries. I'm going to play this clip from Stephen A. Smith, and then we'll get right back into it.
This subject intertwines politics and sports. So if we want to go there, let's go there. You know, they want to eradicate DEI programs and what have you. And what I've said to folks, particularly on the side of the GOP, is very, very simple. It's not so much that you want to eradicate DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion programs. I'll let somebody else argue on behalf of that. What I like to focus on is how dare you try to ignore the reason for its existence in the first place. Similar to civil rights legislation in 1964.
You know, when I was watching that episode live in real time last week, I remember thinking to myself, Stephen A is getting real political these days, you know. And while I'm not exactly sure what his agenda is, if he wants to run for politics in the future, or he's just expanding, you know, on his media, you know, platform and what he wants to do in the sports media world. But regardless of anything, I remember thinking, I wonder how this is going to resonate with the First Take audience. Will people be turned, you know, more tuned in, or will they be more turned off? Because I see a lot of comments that say, look, we don't want to hear about politics and sports. We just want to watch ESPN to hear about sports. Or I stopped watching ESPN because it became too political and all these different things, right? And the truth is that for some people, they'll be fine with it. Some people don't mind, obviously, mixing, you know, sports and politics. And some are going to be like, look, I don't really want to hear all this. I just want to watch and hear about the NBA game last night or what's going on in free agency with the NFL. It just depends on really who it is. But RG3 felt the need to tweet out not long after this episode of First Take aired, and this is what he had to say.
Quote, sports shows on TV should be about sports, not about politics, end quote. Then more than 6 hours later, he expanded his thoughts with this statement, quote, this tweet is not about Jackie Robinson. His significance can never and should never be erased. Breaking the color barrier in baseball in itself is not political. Jesse Owens winning 4 gold medals in itself was not political. Jack Johnson becoming the first black boxing heavyweight champion in itself was not political. They all have political ramifications. They all challenge the status quo of racial barriers to fair play, race relations, and civil rights. That should always be acknowledged and never forgotten. They shouldn't be used as an excuse to push political agendas on sports shows on national television to an audience there to consume in sports content, end quote. RG3, respectfully, my brother, you sound ignorant. So since you have this penchant, this proclivity to be passive aggressive because that's how you roll, let me show you how to be direct. RG3, people at ESPN didn't like you, bro.
So after Stephen A. Smith spoke his piece, RG3 obviously called wind of what he said, and he decided to reach out and meet up with Stephen A. Smith, you know, and talk about the situation man to man, which I love. What really bothers me is that when people say things, they sit behind their, you know, laptop or phone, and they may tweet things or say things, and then, you know, when people are like, hey, let's meet up and talk about it, it's like, no, I don't want to do that. You know, I don't meet up and all these different things. It's like, look, if you're gonna say it, stand on it and be man enough, woman enough, you know, to have a conversation, an adult conversation, respectfully, of course. We don't have to agree, but we can be respectful and hear each other out.
You said I was being, or there was something about me being passive aggressive. Now, would you say that? I believe that someone calling someone, not all the time, but at least in my case, someone calling someone passive aggressive is just an excuse for them to say you didn't react the way that we thought you were going to react. Would you say that it's like most people who get laid off are probably upset?
Hell, you talking to somebody that got fired.
Yes.
I mean, it's me in 2009.
So were you upset in 2009 when you got laid off?
Hell yeah.
Yeah, so that's an easy connection to make. But you said something that, hey, one of the things that I lamented when I was playing was that there were people talking about me behind my back. Some of the things may have been true. Some of the things may not have been true. Mm-hmm. Some of the things might have been just connecting dots and putting out stories. You know how this works.
Correct.
You know how this game works. Hey,
absolutely.
This could be plausible. So maybe if I put it out, they'll think it's true. Reporters have been caught putting out fake stories before. So I'm saying to you, to you as a man, no one from my camp put any of that out. I didn't put that out.
Okay.
Everything you've seen from me publicly, and when I tweet, I can't say this enough. Stephen A., when I tweet, everything I tweet isn't about you. Everything that I tweet isn't about ESPN.
Right, so now that you are all caught up on what is going on, let's just really get down to it. You guys, when it comes to sports, when it comes to politics, religion, I personally feel like sometimes you have to really be mindful of who you are having a religion conversation or politics conversation with, because those conversations can go from zero to 2000 really, really quickly. You know, you get passionate about what your beliefs are and your morals and how you were raised and what you believe in to be true or not true. And it can make for a really intense conversation or heated debate, depending on, you know, who you're speaking with. But in today's world, I really feel like I know I see the comments that are like, you know what? I just want to watch sports. I just want to hear about sports. I don't want to think about all the craziness, the divisiveness that's going on in the world. I want a place to escape, you know, through music, through movies, television shows, sports. You know, I feel like there's very few things nowadays that can unite us. And one thing I love about sports is that I know some of you guys here that follow my page, we're all different ages. I'm in my 30s. Some of you may be 40s, 50s, maybe younger, black, white, Asian. You know, we all come together because we all have this shared love of sports. You know what I mean? And I love that entertainment in general has the ability to do that for us. So for me personally, I don't mind the conversation about politics on a sports show, especially when nowadays it's kind of hard to separate when certain things are happening. Jackie Robinson is a pillar. He's a legend. So when that happened, I understand why Stephen A spoke out about it. And one of the things I read about his new contract, you know, that new $100 million contract that he just received from ESPN, was that he wanted to cut back a little bit on some of his job duties, his job titles, and he wanted to be able to speak more about politics. So take that how you want to take it, but he's living up true to that contract, right? So, hey, I'm here for it. Now, listening to that segment, I was like, oh, you know, it was Stephen is a little bit loquacious. So I was sitting there wondering and listening. I'm like, wow, okay, this is really taking a different turn, you know, with this show. I'm thinking to myself and I'm listening. I'm just like, you know what? You can't ignore it. You know, how can you be on First Take or for me, any kind of sports platform and pretend like what happened with Jackie Robinson, mistake, so they say, or whatever, didn't actually happen given on who he is and who he was and what he meant to sports and to, you know, Black history and to our culture, right? So fast forward, I'm thinking if Stephen A. or anyone says, you know what, politics don't belong in sports, I respect and understand your perspective, but let me ask you this. Are they really that separate? Especially nowadays, when you think about all the headlines, all the major topics in sports that are trending or were trending throughout this past year, even earlier this year, right? Think about the MVP race, right? Lamar and Josh Allen. I did this video and you guys really responded to it because it became more about a black quarterback versus a white quarterback. It became, you know, well, Lamar Jackson is being robbed because he's black, and you know, they just want to give it to Josh because he's white, and they feel bad for him, and all these different things. It really took a racial turn. I remember saying, "Wow, it's really sad that." We're making it a racial conversation as opposed to just really being about two very, very extremely talented young men who both rightfully, in my opinion, deserve the award. Fast forward to, well, actually, I even fast forward. Let's go back a little bit. Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese. Now, obviously, Caitlin Clark is a completely different player than Angel Reese, but for some reason, when you see these two, everybody says Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, right? Obviously, we're not going to pretend we know that one's black and one's white, but you don't really see Caitlin Clark being compared to someone else who's white. Same with Angel Reese, you know, people have really brought into this black versus white conversation because you can't compare them as basketball players. They're two very, very different players. And when you read the comments that people leave under her page, her being Angel Reese, they come across as racial slurs. You know, you're a thug and all these different things. I'm just like, wow. But then when Angel taunts, you know, Caitlin Clark, it's like, oh, you know, I'm not, she's a thug. You know, she's this, she's that. And then when Caitlin does it to someone else, it's like she's passing it. You know, she's just showing, you know, how she really feels. She's a competitor. It's like the labeling is different. You know what I mean? And then let's fast forward to today, right? Deshaun Watson, everything that he had going on with the massage parlor. I don't know what happened or what didn't happen, but we all know it was out there, right? He had to pay an undisclosed amount of money. And then I know there was someone else who came back out, a few months ago with something. I'm not sure what happened with that. But Justin Tucker has a similar situation. And no one is talking about it. I mean, no one. When Deshaun Watson had a situation, it was going all across every single sports show for I don't know how long. You couldn't turn on a sports show or a sports podcast or any podcast without people talking about what happened, what was going on with him. And then Justin Tucker has been kind of mute. Right? No one's saying anything about it. You think about Josh Giddey, who used to play for OKC. He's now in Chicago playing for the Bulls. He allegedly was with some underage girl. A picture was released and nothing happened, right? But Kevin Porter Jr., thank God he's back playing now in the NBA. Something happened with him, domestic abuse. I'm not sure if he did or he didn't. But he was actually booted out and lost his job almost immediately before they even investigated what actually happened. So there are other examples. I don't want to go down the whole list, but it feels like if we try to act like it's not there, then I feel like we're not really being honest with the world that we live in. And I give Stephen A credit for being one of the few analysts that I see that are willing to talk about DEI and how it affects us and what's going on in today's world. So, should politics be left out of sports? For me, it's a no, because you can't ignore it because it exists in sports, right? When you look at some of the players who have to fight for their contracts, right? Joe Burrow got his money, Josh Allen got his money, right? Lamar Jackson, two-time MVP, unanimous MVP, right? Why is he fighting for his money? Why? Now, that could be looked at as a Ravens thing because he was dealing with some injuries, a little bit early on. Or you could say maybe they just take care of the white quarterbacks more so than the black quarterbacks. I don't know. It really depends on how you choose to look at it, right? And it's really, honestly, a bit sad that in today's world, it's like we can't escape the the division, the divisiveness, especially when it comes to politics, because they're pretty much ingratiated in every single thing that we do. There's always some political or hidden agenda behind something more times than not, more times than we care to realize, in my humble opinion. When you look at some of the things that have happened in today's society, what continues to happen, and you look at certain things, the way President Trump is doing things, and the things that the programs that he's cutting, and the way he's doing things, you ask yourself, right? How is that what happened with Jackie Robinson? Like, how do we ignore that? How is that not something that we talk about, especially when it correlates with sports, right? Think about the Olympics, right? When it comes to Jordan Childs, and her, losing, being stripped of her bronze medal. Even go back further, to Simone Biles. She is so talented, generational talent. She does this amazing, trick, that she's worked her butt off to be able to do, and she doesn't get her full credit, for being able to do it because nobody else can do it. Since what does that happen at? You know what I mean? Like those kind of things. And again, this is sports, but it is the politics behind the sports. She's able to do something that most people can't do, as opposed to giving her credit for it and having other ladies be able to step it up or step to the side. You try to bring her down. And make her blend in with everybody else when she's obviously miles above the rest. You know what I mean? There's so many examples, you guys. And I don't want to be here talking for hours upon hours, but this is a long conversation, a conversation that needs to be had. I feel like sometimes more so than often. And I want to ask what you guys think. Do you feel like sports and politics have no business being in the same conversation on the same show? Do you just want to hear about sports? No politics. I just want to escape, laugh, make fun of whoever had a bad night. Or do you see no problem with it? You want more conversations like it? I look forward to reading your comments, and of course, I will see you in the next video.